welcome to Can't Stop the Pop, the podcast, where we, that's me, Matty,
and me, Craig,
do a deep dive on a song from the 90s or noughties.
So, Matty, what song are we doing this week?
We are doing a song by a really not very known, very up and coming, quite indie, left field artist. No, I'm totally joking here. We are doing Love Story by Taylor Swift. So, Craig, what are your immediate thoughts on Love Story by Taylor Swift?
It's a cute little pop song. And I think that's a good starting point for me to get into it later. But before we do get into it, who is Taylor Swift? And why on earth are we talking about this song?
Well, Taylor Swift is now in 2025, when we are recording and releasing this episode, the biggest pop star on the planet. That's not an opinion. That's just a fact. She is the biggest, highest grossing touring artist of all time in terms of concerts. But Taylor Swift really is, I'd say, one of the biggest successes ever for country to pop crossover artists. She began at the end of this era of pop music that we talk about in the 90s and noughties. So and we'll get into a lot of that. Her career was birthed in the States a little bit earlier than it was in the UK. But for this album, Fearless, we're really talking at the tail end of what we talk about. So we're still in, physical singles era and, carting it around on TV sort of era. But Taylor is a really unique and amazing pop star who is incredibly popular. And we are aiming to not upset anyone by the things that we say here.
Too late. Someone has already upset.
Someone's already been upset. But for the record, I love Taylor Swift. I am not a hardcore Swiftie that worships everything she does, like some people, but I do really like her as a pop star. I went to the Eras tour, and it's not over the top to say it was one of the best concerts I've ever been to. It was spectacular. It was a brilliant, brilliant gig. And we're talking about this song because this really was her breakthrough hit internationally, and definitely in the UK. But it still stands as a bit of an anomaly in her discography in the UK because she didn't really pick up full momentum until later down the line in terms of the album's campaign for the UK. But we're talking about Love Story. So you say you think it's a cute little pop song. Elaborate on that.
Yeah, I do. I feel like I just have to say as a disclaimer, I do like Taylor Swift. I am very much, as you know, a fair weather Taylor Swift fan. When she's doing music I like her. When she's not, she's never bothered me. But I don't really have an opinion on some of the stuff she does. But I will say, and we say this a lot, I don't think I've ever seen a pop star like her in my lifetime, and I'm not sure we ever will again in terms of how she's positioned herself in the industry. So we can talk about the Spice Girls, we can talk about Britney Spears, we can talk about Lady Gaga, we can talk about so many artists, and they've all been successful in ways that are really hard to parallel. But Taylor Swift, I think, is successful in a completely different way. So I just want to preface by saying that before I get into it. But yes, this song, Love Story, so in the UK we got the pop mix because let's not forget that the UK does not like country music, or it did not like country music. The only reason Shania Twain could have hits here in the early noughties was because all the songs were remixed to be pop hits in the 90s.
But not the Bollywood versions that she did. They were also really, really strange. Just a side note about Shania.
We did spiral off in some directions there. So we got the pop version of Love Story. It was Taylor Swift's her first song to chart in the UK. And I think as a I said to you earlier, so I am going to upset someone here. As a country song, the original country mix, I think it's quite annoying. I can't say why, because lyrically it's the same, but there's something about the production which I think is a little bit too stereotypically country. I think you
Mm-hmm.
can do country music, and I think she did do country music with a contemporary twist. But the original mix of Love Story is not that. I can imagine if I was in America hearing this on the radio day in day out, it would have driven me mad. But the pop mix, good pop song, very classic pop lyrics. Very much reminds me of the sort of stuff that was in the late 90s, early noughties, with the whole metaphor of Romeo and Juliet. So really well written, and I have to say it was written by Taylor Swift. So that's incredible to write a song like this at what was she in 16, 17 when she wrote this?
She was young.
It's cute. It's really cute.
I agree with everything you said, really, to be honest. As a preface, I understand what you mean about not always liking everything that she does, not because I don't like everything she does, but because her discography is now 12 albums deep. Like we're talking about a humongous discography for a pop artist now. It's varied. It's very varied in style, and I suppose that shows longevity. Whereas we go back to Love Story, and it's such an understated, innocent little song. There's not much scope to it, but that's what I think is the charm of it. On first listen, I remember this being everywhere. And even the pop version, dare I say it, I thought the song at the time was a little bit forgettable. But over the years, she's got this ability as a songwriter, and this is I know I'm getting there, but this is a compliment about her because she does write. She writes her own stuff. She always has, and even when she's collaborated and she's worked with some of the biggest producers and songwriters, she's still writing them. Like, you can't really doubt. Yes, there's been the odd lyrical misfire some points down the line, but she's always had a hand in that. And like a lot of the great sort of longevity pop artists, on first listen, it's a bit forgettable. But over the years, I have just grown to absolutely love this song because I think that innocence and that almost twee-like nature, it comes through so well. It's so much of a grower, like a lot of her songs. There's quite a lot of her songs which are quite layered or have an innocence to them that you think initially, but then over time, I can't tell you the amount of her songs over the years, and I won't because I'll get cancelled, that when I heard initially, I was like, I don't really get this. This is what? And then I will say I don't care. But like when I first heard "Look What You Made Me Do" from the Reputation album, I was like, what? I do not get this. When I first heard "Fortnights" from Tortured Poets, I was like, nah. Now it's one of my favorite songs of last year. I played it on repeat, and I feel like "Love Story" when it was on the Eras tour, it was such a moment. Because it was actually quite stripped back in the production element. It was just an entire stadium singing this song that was, by this point, quite old. And all these people had grown up with it. But there's an innocence to it, but there's also like a kind of anthemic nature to that chant of a chorus, which is very repetitive. There's not much melodic range in the song, which, as you said, if you heard the country version, is very typical of a lot of American country music, in that you've got that I'm just coming up with a random melody, but that sort of, we're sitting in one place and we're just going to keep repeating the lyrics and more lyrics. That is a very driving along the road country type way of writing songs. And she's still at this point was very much in that era. Like the Fearless era is like country that dips its toe in pop, whereas later on she was doing other things, dipping her toe back into country. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. And I think it's really nice. I suppose for me, because it comes at the tail end of what we talk about, I imagine that if I had grown up with this song, if I was a teenager when this song came out, it would mean I can see how it means so much to people. It's just unfortunate that I wasn't probably the right demographic. I really liked Taylor Swift. I actually was in America and bought her first album when I heard Teardrops on My Guitar on the radio. So I already knew she was a really good...
the Taylor Swift album, the first one. Wow.
An original Swiftie. And so I suppose with Love Story, I can hear the quality of her songwriting. It doesn't have to be super complex. Sometimes she can just write what people feel, and I think that's what Love Story does so well. And you talk about the melody, and again, I think what makes it work really well is that bit at the end with the key change where she goes into the "Marry Me."
So good.
That works so well, and it gives me goosebumps, like because of that shift out of that melody into the key change. So good. It's a really cute pop song, and do you have any thoughts on the Taylor's version?
Yeah, I think of all of the re-recordings, to any of our people listening who don't know what the Taylor's versions of things are, if you're listening to this when we're a mega successful podcast in 2045, she re-recorded a handful of her albums because she didn't have access to the masters, which now she has. She's bought them all back. It's been a whole thing in the news. And it's been a real seismic shift in terms of that's been a humongous shift in the music industry. And when you were talking before about a pop star, we're not going to see someone like that. Like, she's affected every level of the infrastructure of what the music industry is. My thoughts on Love Story, Taylor's version, I love it. I actually think the re-recordings that she did of the Fearless album is the best example of Taylor's versions. Because there was an innocence to it when she was that young, and it's really nice hearing someone with an older, warmer tone going back to it. I think some of her other re-recordings have been less successful, and I used to listen to the Taylor's versions of certain albums of hers out of, well, I can't listen to the original, whereas now she owns them. I'm a bit like, okay, well, I'm going to go back to the original version. If that makes sense. Whereas I really like the Taylor's version of it. She's got a real warmth to her tone. To be honest, that was my next point, was that everyone talks about Taylor Swift, the songwriter. Everyone talks about Taylor Swift, the pop star, the live performer. I don't think she gets enough credit, especially when she was this young. As a singer, like, was she Beyonce? No. Was she Mariah or Whitney? No, of course she's not. She was a young country singer girl, but she's got such a wonderful tone that is so unbelievably recognizable, which I think vocally is the distinction of what a good pop star is. It doesn't actually really matter about your vocal range and what you can do, whatever. If I hear your voice on the radio and I know that's a Taylor song, that it's not about the production, it's about her voice. I just feel like even in her poppier stuff, she still remains in that very sort of nasal front placement country tone. There's a live performance that I saw online on the Letterman show, and it's so innocent. She's just there with a band, and she's wearing the most unassuming girl next door dress. There is just nothing big production about it, and she sounds great. She's got such a lovely tone, and I think this is a good song to show that off. I would say my favorite bit, and I listened back to the song
And you're so right. At the end, and this is probably my one thing with the Taylor's version, is right at the end, I keep singing on this podcast. I really shouldn't. You're gonna have to edit out. But right at the end, she just does this oh. Right at the end, you're like, go on, go. Like, you know that it's gonna go in there, and it's so simple. It's so clean. But the Taylor's version, she riffs a tiny bit, and I'm like, nah, you don't need to do it. It doesn't. The song is perfect because you've not overdone it. It's the tiniest thing, but you know what? I didn't think her tone was hugely different, but I did. We're going to start talking about the video, but I do appreciate the fact that they created a Taylor's version and just put the vocals over the original video. I'm like, we are in Britney Spears territory here, where we're performing to 20-year-old vocals.
Yep.
But the other way round.
But that was also because they knew YouTube music has become actually such a huge thing in the past few years. I sort of forget that's sometimes how a lot of people stream the music, just through music videos these days. It's weirdly like we've kind of gone back to the 80s in that I think having a music video I think it's good, really important these days, because it's what a lot of younger people will watch it. So they wanted it to be the Taylor's version. It's just the same video. So talking about the video then, what are your thoughts?
I watched it. I said to you earlier, this is awful. It's one of those videos that it was on so much. You know, sometimes videos are on TV so much you don't actually ever sit down and watch them from start to finish because you just see little bits of them. So I could tell you what this video looks like and I could recognize it, but I don't think I'd ever actually sat down and watched it from start to finish. And I just thought, this is the kind of pop video I really miss. It's such a great little concept. So it's like, it starts, it's a period, mostly it's a period piece where she's courting, in a, like going along with the lyrics. Think of sort of a period Romeo and Juliet style piece, but it's
like Jane Austen
in the context.
That's what it is.
Yeah,
it's meant to be like Pride and Prejudice, but
it's framed in the context of she's at high school and she sees this guy and she sort of flashes to them having this romance, and it's just so well shot. It's so well edited. It just presents her. This is lead single, second album. You just think, yeah, this is a star. This is Taylor Swift going big. And I'm not sure that I could. I mean, there are other videos from this album that I think are so much better. But it does what it does for the song, and it does it really well. And it's just a sort of simple concept pop video that we just don't see enough of anymore.
I completely agree. It's things these days are either so high concept or so dull in their execution that I go, why is that even matching? This matches the song perfectly. My notes that I wrote were that it's so beautifully shot. It's so beautifully shot. But I do think it's funny that I don't know how many shots there are where they've got the camera rig on that window that she's just stood in.
Yes.
There's probably about 50 different shots where it's da-da-da-da-da. Like, as they milk it for all it's worth. But there's some beautiful bits. I love her walking through the forest with the boy and, courting him, and the dance sequence that they do, this sort of it's like Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice, Emma, Sense and Sensibility. That's the whole vibe. She looks beautiful, but what you said is really hitting the nail on the head, which is that as a lead single from a second album that was going to be pushed internationally, there's a real confidence to this that is rare these days to have that sort of budget pushed into someone. You'd get that confidence and level pushed once they'd become a viral hit, or once they'd done all the legwork, and then the record company would come in and go bam. Whereas it was huge. But it's also still incredibly simple. There's like really not much to the video, but yeah, it still seems beautiful. And once again, to sort of give context to where we are recording this episode, when it's obviously released a little bit later, the Life of a Showgirl album has literally dropped this week. Like, it's literally, I've been listening to it this week, and I watched the Fate of Ophelia video today, directly after it, for a comparison of like, where have we come from to where are we? For the record, I love the new video. Whatever people think of the album is a different thing, but I love the new video. It's just ridiculous high production, set, choreography, dancers. But it was really funny to see that where we'd come from, because Love Story is so innocent and so there's just like a purity to it. It's quaint. That's what I'll say.
Yeah. And I think it's important to say that it works because she was the age that she was. It conceptually it works, lyrically it works because she was the right age to sell it and to speak to the audience. So whatever you think of her now, I think, and we have this discussion about artists all the time, and we probably say it sometimes, I wish they'd do more stuff like that, but actually she's not that person anymore. Whatever you think of her, she's not. So I like it. I really, really like it. And I certainly like you picking up on the window, because I think what happened probably was they must have found this venue and thought, well, that window there, that section of the building looks like the period setting we're going for. But it was probably a really modern building with just one bit of protected architecture. So they were like, right, do not film anything else. A strict angle.
I love that. So right, before we get on to the stats, there's there's a section of this episode that I want to talk about, because that was the point that I wanted to say. The reason I brought the idea of us doing Love Story to you, because I really wanted us to, as you say, we're looking at what she was like then versus a little bit what she is like now. And what I find mad is the promotional trail that she was on for these first few albums.
Yeah.
Because I saw a video. I actually think it might have even been around the Red album, which is 2 albums later, which was probably her next big breakthrough within the UK. I don't think that's unfair to say. That's the album that's got We Were Never Getting Back Together and 22. And anyway, the thing is that she was like on the bill, but she was like 3rd or so down, I think, on like Graham Norton. And people were going, "Oh my God, it is ridiculous that Taylor Swift was ever put this low." And I think a lot of younger, not listens to the show, because I don't think anyone listens to the show if they're under 30, but I think a lot of younger fans of her have retroactively become fans. I think a lot of people have. I think 2020, and I think the pandemic and her releasing Folklore and Evermore as these sort of beautiful, warm, critically acclaimed folk albums changed the whole course of her career within the UK. And a lot of people spent that time retroactively going back and looking at stuff.
Yeah.
And then she became a superstar in the UK way later than America. Like that, you just have to look at the stats. So for her, back now, it would be unbelievable to think that she would be billed so low on TV shows, or she would go on the sort of things that she was doing back in the day. But what is the clip that you found for me the other day, Craig, that I was blown away by? What TV show was she on?
Oh, now there were several that she was on.
Several.
Right. So I don't know which is more. I'm going to say Loose Women is the
Loose Women.
Loose Women sat in between Colleen Nolan and Carol McGiffin. I'm like, how? Well, I cannot believe that happened. And then
she'd never do that now.
Can you imagine? And then she's on, I don't think it was when she was promoting Love Story, but she was on, certainly this year, she was on Paul O'Grady. She did quite a few appearances with Paul O'Grady, but she was below Rita Simons, who was in EastEnders at the time as Roxy Mitchell. She was below Rita Simons on the billing. She did BBC Breakfast, Children in Need, and I say that clip where she donates, she says, my lucky number's 13, so I want to donate £13,000 to Children in Need, and Terry Wogan kisses her on the cheek, and then he says to her, she's one of the world's biggest pop stars, and she's good for 13,000 quid, and she just looks,
it's like
she's completely disassociated and doesn't have, she's just left her body. It's what a promotional trail. I mean, she really did do the traditional promotional trail for this album in the UK, because she was not, well, it was her first album in the UK, and she was not a big star here.
She was everywhere, and
yeah.
I've seen many an interview with her in which that she's spoken about this, and that a lot of people misunderstand the way that she is when she's promotional stuff, because she didn't come from a background of being a pop star. She was a little country singer. And then it's basically you're getting pushed out on the road. And it's very clear that she didn't have the media savviness of someone like a Gaga or a Beyonce, or even like UK people. Like, there's a real sort of blasé innocence about it of like, yeah, I'm here to do my song.
Yeah.
And then I think that over time got slightly misconstrued. But yeah, this promotional tour is so funny, the level that she was at. And I just find it really funny knowing where we've got to. That she really, really did take a few albums to become a megastar in the UK.
Yeah.
In fact, the fact that she didn't have a UK number one until Look What You Made Me Do. I am correct there, am I not? Please, Taylor Swift fans, don't come
Shake
for
It
me.
Off might have been.
No, I'm pretty sure Shake It Off didn't get to number one. You know what? We're gonna check that. We're gonna check that right now, so we don't have people coming for us. Where's the discography? I need to write this. We can edit this out.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was. So the Love Story didn't get to number one, but like, yeah, I'm pretty sure Look What You Made Me Do was her first number one, which is mental because that's like quite far in. Anyway, that's what we think. Craig, what happened when this song was released in both the UK and America? Let's talk about that.
Okay, brace yourself, because there are a lot of stats to get through here. So in the UK, so this was released on the 2nd of March 2009, and it peaked at number 2 in the UK, and it was a really, really big hit in the UK. So it was the 29th bestseller of 2009, but it was in the top 20. It was in the top 10 and the top 20 for ages, but it is now overall her third biggest seller ever with 2 million chart units. So, I mean, that in some respects, that shows just how much her fame has risen from then to now. And in the US, it peaked at number 4. But what I find interesting about this, and I again don't really think about this because I think I do retroactively think about Taylor Swift, and I think about Love Story, and I think this was when she broke through. But actually, she didn't have another top 20 hit here until 2012. So with We Are Never Getting Back Together.
But and that thing is, I remember that as well. That was the thing about Taylor Swift, is that I'm going to say something mad now, but there was definitely an element that when it came to the singles, she felt a little bit like a one-hit wonder for a while.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely mental to think, because she was still having huge international success and she'd had American success consistently.
Yeah.
But within the UK, You Belong With Me was not a big hit, even though it was on the radio and even though it was everywhere. There was really nothing that broke through from the Speak Now album. There was nothing on the level of Love Story.
No.
It wasn't until she did Red, which was a direct shift and I think push from the record company to go that little bit more pop, and it just worked.
Yeah.
Red is the blueprint really for what Taylor Swift would continue to do and experiment with. Love Story was the breakout single, but she still wasn't like the star that we would know her to be. Like, we're still in the era of, like, you know, dare I say it, like, you know, this sort of first few albums of like Kanye West running up at the VMAs and like saying about Beyonce, she's one of the greatest artists. And there was an air about Taylor Swift that I don't think she was taken seriously as this is a massive, big international pop star in the UK, at least.
Yeah. I think if I think back to, so she promoted hard here. I mean, Fearless got to number 5, but it was only in the top 10 for that week. But if I think about what was happening in the charts at that point, we were entering this sort of electro pop. Gaga, Dr. Luke, Max Martin, Katy Perry, Britney Spears, Kesha. We were entering that, and actually, Love Story doesn't really sit alongside that stuff. And it was only, and I think that was very much the sound that dominated the UK charts at the time when Taylor Swift first broke through.
Well, but we were in a post. So I agree in what you're saying, that we were in a post blackout world, and that's so silly to say, but that album changed the course of electro pop music that became massively successful, and obviously Gaga then came and rode that wave and changed everything again. So it's mad to think how much this stands out for stuff that was being successful at the time.
I suppose the one song that I think from Fearless that I think, as I said to you, like actually makes me so angry was, you really said You Belong With Me. It only got to number 30 in the UK, which, and I think that as a video, as an idea, as a song, that for me, I can't quite believe that didn't follow up here, because it's really, really good, and it consolidates everything that Love Story did. And I felt that's probably the moment that I think she became so big in pop culture in America that even though she wasn't scoring hits in the UK, we were aware of her because she had already reached that point in America. I mean, Fearless debuted at number 1 in America with close to 600,000 copies, which now is nothing to Taylor Swift. But at the time, she was huge. She was so massive. Big. And yet she's over here doing Loose Women. It's crazy. There was such a huge discrepancy
with Colleen
between how
Nolan.
Big she was. So, it's weird, isn't it? But I'm really glad it's had its moment. But absolutely, I agree. There was a point which she could have been a one-hit wonder. Certainly, there was no guarantee that she was going to become what she did, because it was 3 years before she actually got into the top 5. Again,
it's funny looking at those first 3 albums and this being the only real hit in the UK from it, because we are now not talking about a pop star who has had a couple of singles or whatever and a bit of success. We're talking about the biggest pop star on the planet and the biggest pop star of definitely of this recent generation. And what a great song for us to look back on. What a beautiful, quaint, Jane Austen, Shakespearean-led lyrical song.
Yes, I love it. It's not my favourite Taylor Swift song, but I do appreciate it. Do you know what your favourite Taylor Swift song is?
Yes. Taylor Swift's best... we're going to get cancelled for this. Taylor Swift's best song is Blank Space. That is one of the best pop songs ever written. That's a fact. And And also for me, the 1989 album is her peak. It's just this 80s based synth thing that it's mad to think that 3 albums prior she was at Love Story, whereas 1989 was such an unbelievable confidence that she'd gotten to roll out this record because of how successful Red had been as a pop crossover. It was, well, we're going to go full on pop 80s. And that 1989 was the start of, I'm going to slightly reinvent myself every time. And I don't like saying like Madonna because there's plenty of other, as I'm wearing a Madonna t-shirt, but there's always that comparison of like, if a female artist gets to the point in which that they feel that, you know, they can just take risks and we're going to do whatever we want on this next album. I like that. I like that she's at a position now where she can. And each album, no 2 albums other than Folklore and Evermore, which are basically part 1 and 2 of the same record. There's no other albums that she's released since then that sit side by side. But yeah, I love looking back on how innocent Love Story is, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to just throw in...
What's yours?
That my favourite Taylor Swift song is Delicate. But, which I think is... And again, it wasn't a big hit in the UK. It was a hit. But it wasn't huge. And I really think... But I love that song so much. I love the remixes. I love that song. But I am also open to the fact that one day... Because I do think we've reevaluated Love Story, and like you say, I think now people look back and will say it was better than they were saying it was at the time, because I don't think people were going at the time, this is brilliantly written. It wasn't as lauded as it is now.
Yeah.
And I feel the same will happen to Me, which I think is very underrated as Taylor Swift songs go.
You meant...
I think it's... No, not me personally.
I thought you meant you personally.
Well, me too. I am underrated and misunderstood. So actually, perhaps that's why I like that song too. But, you know, one day we'll reevaluate. We'll be doing this podcast in 20 years' time. And we're saying we're going to talk about Me today. And we're going to be talking about how it was misunderstood, underappreciated. But in time, it's revealed itself perhaps to be her best song. But that's for another day. That's for another decade.
For the record, I actually really liked Me. Didn't hate it, and I didn't know that people were hating on it, and I was like, what? Thankfully, I really like the Lover album. I really like the Lover album. It's got some of... I'm sorry, but You Need to Calm Down is probably top 5 songs, Taylor Swift song for me. You Need to Calm Down and Cruel Summer, amazing. We could have a whole deep dive. Maybe we should do that on Patreon. We just have a favorite Taylor Swift songs. Right. If you want to listen to Love Story by Taylor Swift, you can find it on streaming. And where can they find us, Craig?
So, Can't Stop the Pop has a website where there are over 500 reviews, which you can find at can'tstopthepop.com.
We're also on social media. I'm Matt_Atkins9 on Instagram. And you can also find us on TikTok at Can't Stop the Pop Podcast, where we talk about loads of other pop music stuff and do random little interviews and things like that.
I am at can'tstop_the_pop on Instagram and TikTok. We're also Can't Stop the Pop on YouTube. And we have Patreon at patreon.com/Can't Stop the Pop for bonus content and exclusive episodes. So maybe we will do something Taylor Swift related. Because quite frankly, if you're going to shell out for a 36th variant of The Tortured Poets, then you can afford
shell out for our Patreon.
Money our way.
There you go. Do it, Taylor Swifties. Do subscribe to all our channels, particularly Patreon. Get in touch. Let us know what you think of the song, what you think of the show, and please leave us a review. Only a good one, wherever you get your podcasts from.
Thank you so much for listening, and join us next time for more
Can't Stop the Pop.